Moving back now to initiative again, rolling the black for John and the white for Baldwin. Number 8 for John. So now John's first decision on what he wants to do this turn. I think the first thing to do would be to move these crossbowmen around the back, around the corner a bit further, so that they cannot be targeted by these spearmen. So moving around the building, staying in contact, they're going to move 3 inches there, 2 inches there. So they've moved around, they're now out of the charge range and sight of the spearmen. Looking at Baldwin's options, there's a handful of things he can do, but I think the most important thing first is going to be to try and clear off that last mounted sergeant. So the mounted sergeant can be charged by these levy, so I think that's their best bet. At the minute they're currently quite close to him, but yeah, they're within 6 inches. So they will take an attack action, and there's no worries about line of sight, no worries about the distance. However, I do need to consult the modifier for morale. So because the defender has got more morale penalties, the attackers are actually going to gain an extra dice. They don't have to roll a dice or anything like that to charge these guys because they are the nearest target. The defender's reaction, he'll go down in a blaze of glory. He will attack back. That action there was actually for these. The action there will be for the levy, and then the second action there will be for him. So now they can roll for the strength of the charge. So rolling a d6 for this, and they get a 4. So it doesn't make a difference for them, but they pile in. So now we need to work out the attack pool. So that's 5 plus 1 for the strength of the charge. They're out of range of their pennant, so they won't get anything for inspire, but they'll be rolling a total of 6 dice. So these levy are going to need an 8 up to hit against this guy. There's a 0, an 8, and a 9. So that is 3 hits against him. So he gets to save 3 hits. He has got a shield and he has got parry, so that will help him a little bit. But he needs to get at least 6 up save. He fails all 3. He's got a shield, so he's going to get a 7 up save, and he fails all 3. He gets a 6 highest. So that is this guy dead. That is a group wiped out. Because they were victorious in the charge, the levy actually get to make a regroup, and they're going to keep up the pressure. Yeah, they'll move. They'll keep their face. They'll stay in these marksman sergeant's face because it will force the marksman sergeant to waste an action on shooting at them rather than actually targeting Baldwin or someone else. So, because a group was wiped out within 6 inches of these guys have to make a morale check. Their morale would be 4 up to save 8, so they're fine. These guys are going to stay, otherwise they would have broken, which could create quite a cool chain reaction across a battle line if you're playing a larger battle. But that's it, so that's that turn for Baldwin complete. Coming back now to John's activation, he's got some decisions to make. The threat to these crossbowmen won't materialise until next turn, so there's nothing to worry about from these actual levy here yet. There is a threat from the bowmen, because of course they could shoot directly at the crossbows here. I think the crossbows would have to hope that they're able to survive that. The bowmen can't really shoot at John's command group because they've got the monks in the way. There's other bits and pieces that would hinder their shots. So John's choices on that side are a little bit easier. Over on this side of the battlefield, things are slightly different. There's no threat, of course, to the crossbowmen who are now behind the granary. There is a threat of the archers shooting at this group here, and if these guys don't get a move on, they're not going to cover any ground. So what they're going to do is they're going to activate, and they're going to charge into the bowmen. Now, I've measured it. It's an 8-inch difference. They should be able to get across. There's no line of sight issues. So for the strength of the charge, actually defender reaction. I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to go for some reaction shooting with this group of bowmen. A group armed with missile weapons may use reaction shooting if they are targeted by an attacking group, which is at least their basic movement distance away. So they're at least 6 inches away. To resolve reaction shooting, the defender makes an immediate ranged attack before the attacker makes their charge. Check for line of sight. All defending warriors who can draw line of sight generate attack dice. So I'll put down the reaction. They are all within line of sight. Reaction shooting is always resolved at long range. So there are 6 bowmen. They will be rolling 6 dice. It's resolved at long range, so it means they're actually rolling. Going to need 8s to hit. Yes, it's an 8. And let's see what they do. Any casualties they cause basically take away attacks from the main group. So 8s to hit. They hit 2. Now the defending group have a defense of 7 and a small shield, so they need at least a 7. They save 1. They save with an 8, and then they've got a small shield which will do 9. They get a 9, so actually they save both of them. So there's no damage caused to these guys at all. So let's roll the strength of the charge. For these spears, they get a 5, so it's not going to make a difference. There's no morale difference or penalties or anything involved in these guys, so it is a case of we've got the 6 spearmen's turn to attack. Now, they are an 8 for attack, 2, 4, 6 dice, needing 8s, 3 hits, 9, 8, 8, 4, 2, 1. So 3 hits, that means 3 saves for the bowman, who will need a 7 or more to save this. That is 2 zeros and a 6. So they do save 2, but they lose 1. So they're going to lose this guy here. And they have enough movement to cross it, so they're forced back an inch effectively. So they stand like this. Now, the spearmen have the opportunity to make a move, but unfortunately, they're near the stores which are already on fire. We've got this here, the well. Poisoning the well is an objective. So they will get in base contact with that, so they get the opportunity to try and poison that at the end of the turn. Now, remaining on this side and seeing that the well is now threatened, I think Baldwin's spearmen are going to have to make a decision on what they do. It's within 6 inches, so there's no issues with charge, there's no issues with line of sight, and there's no issues with anything getting in the way. So, well, actually we need to put that down as well. A 1 for these guys. The D6 for strength of the charge is a 1. So they're going to lose an attack dice as they charge in. Right, so they've charged in. So now they had 5 guys charging in. 3, 4, 5, yep. The other spearmen can't make a reaction, so there's nothing they can do. So there's 5 dice needing 7s. There's an 8. So there's 1 8, that's it. Nothing else. 1 save to make for those guys. They would need a 7 with a shield save as well. It's needing a 7 to save it. They save it, so they're fine. So actually the groups just back off each other. And that is that combat action resolved. So returning to this part of the battlefield, John's going to get his marksman sergeant here, and they're going to try attempt to take a shot at these bowmen at the back. Now the difficulty for these guys is that currently the levy, who are sitting on this side, are the closest unit. So they'd actually have to pass a morale check to be able to shoot against the other group. The morale is a 4+. They pass it on a 7, so they can actually shoot with the guys that are further away. So they've got 5 dice, and they get an extra dice because they are measured shot, provided they don't move. So they'll need 6s because they're shooting at long range, And we get a 7, we get another 7, 5, 1, 2, 5, 5. Yeah, so 2 hits. The defenders are rolling. They're going to be rolling 2 dice as standard, and then 1 for inspire because they are within range of their commander. And these guys are going to need a 7 to save. Well, actually, they could have taken a reaction. What reaction should we give them? Let's say they're not going to take a reaction because it leaves them open to make their own choice if they want to shoot later. So needing 7s to save. They save 1, fail the other 2. So 1 guy lives, the other 2 fail. So 1 dead, and the group moves back 1 inch, and then they get a 1 on their morale dice. So Baldwin on this turn, his activation is going to be to move these monks into base contact with these stores. So they've moved to try and stop that. That leaves John to activate, and he's going to move up this group of sergeants. For Baldwin, he's going to activate his archers, and he's going to have the archers shoot at these crossbowmen down at the bottom here. So if I move it down a little bit, you can see them here. So they'll have to pass a morale check first because they're not shooting at the closest enemy, which is these guys here. They get a 9. I haven't checked what their morale is, but I know that they would pass that anyway, so that's not a problem. So they're now going to generate 5 attack dice plus 1 for inspire. They are going to be needing a 8 up to hit. That's terrible. The highest is a 7, so they miss every roll. Now John is going to take his activation, and he's going to order these spearmen to charge into the flank of the knights. So an order morale check to pass. They've passed. It's a 0. There is a barricade in the way, so I'm going to have to check to see how it works when you're fighting over a barricade. So because more than half of this group of bowmen are across the barrier, it's actually not going to have any effect for them. So we'll roll strength of the charge. There's currently a 1 morale penalty on these guys. The strength of a charge was a 3, so no impact. The morale table is going to make a slight difference. So basically the attackers are going to get to re-roll an attack dice. So these guys are going to charge in. Oh, they have moved actually, so I need to make sure I'm putting my tokens down. So John's taken a token. These guys are attacking, so they get an extra token. And also because they're attacking on a second move, they are also weary. They're rolling a total of 5 dice base, so 5 standard plus 1 for inspire. They'll get to re-roll one of the ones they failed with. They're going to need to get at least a 7 because they are irregular sergeants. And there's 2 7s in there. They do get to re-roll 1 unsuccessful dice, but it's another 1. So that is 2 hits. The bowmen are going to be defending on a 7 because they have no armor. They fail both of them, so they actually take 2 casualties. So that is 2 bowmen down. That's going to put their morale up to a 3 on here, and they will be forced back. So they'll need to take a morale check because they've lost half or more. They can't see their commander or anything about it, so their morale is actually going to be quite difficult to save. Their base morale is a 5. It's going to be an 8 to save. It's 5, so they fail. I'm hoping I took into account the weary for these guys, but if not, I didn't. So they failed their morale, they're broken. So let's consult the rules to see what happens in the second edition. Now they're broken. So now they're broken. They are now going to try and move as quickly as they can, move directly away from their opponent using the straight line where line of sight was drawn. Yeah, so they can't do that, so they're going to have to move around the building. And they need to go towards the player's table edge. So they'll be moving, let's say they're moving out this way. They're going to need to cross the barrier, so they're going to be going 5 inches. They're essentially going to end up here. So these guys get to make a free move to consolidate. So what they're going to do actually, yeah, I think over here, they can try and press around the edge to try and put a bit more pressure on these guys. Hopefully, if they can, clear them up and wipe them off the table. So there's that. Done. On Baldwin's turn, he's going to give a command to these bowmen at the top here to shoot back at these group of crossbows. They get a 5, so I think they're going to fail that. Yes, that's a fail because they've got a morale of 5. So they do fail. So their base is 5. They've got 1 morale penalty, so that actually means they fail. So that is a failed command. So we'll put a failed command down on Baldwin. Well, he's taken the command. Last but not least, so John is eyeing up these bowmen here. They are broken. So he's going to declare a charge. So there's nothing impeding their line of sight. Their morale bonus is massively different. The strength of the charge, he rolls a 4, so there's no different there. So these guys are going to charge in. So the attacker's dice, we've got 1 for John, we've got 3 for the command group, we've then got 1 for inspire, and they get another 1 because of the morale difference. So because they've got an extra 1 for the morale difference, I can decide which dice pool that goes into. So I'm going to put that, obviously, into John's dice pool. So because they are broken, all of the attack dice hit automatically. So that's 6 hits. So this is 6 hits for these guys to defend. They're also at a -1 to their defense roll because the knights and John are armed with falchions. So these guys are highly likely to be mincemeat. So they're going to need an 8+ to defend these. Right, so there are 2 zeros. But then other than that, so they saved 2 wounds. But the rest, they take a cumulative total of 4 wounds for the entire group. They're dead. They're wiped out. So that's another group gone. So that brings it now to 17 dead for Baldwin to 6 dead for John. So what he's going to do now is he's going to make his regroup, and he's essentially able to move his full move back. So they're going to move. John's just moved back in that direction. Things are not looking great for Baldwin. I think he needs to try and secure the flank where up in this direction a bit. So he is going to use his last action to move himself and his group. They're going to take a run actually. They're going to run down to here. They'll run in that direction, hopefully try to secure the flank a little bit more. There's not a lot they can do to stop John's guys who are coming up this way now. He's probably needed more over there. So yeah, right. That is the end of turn 3 now. So we'll go round. We will collect up all the tokens. This comes off. All the tokens come up. I will have a look around the corner to see if I don't think there's anyone with live morale penalties currently. No, not around here. There are some weary guys, but that comes off, not a problem. These guys are no longer weary, so they lose the penalty, and we pick up the token. So, end phase. We've got some opportunities, or there's one opportunity at the back to set fire to the granary. These plucky little crossbowmen need to roll a 5 or a 6 to set fire to this building. And there we have it. They roll a 5 and they set fire to the granary. And there is the second objective fallen to John de Montague. So that is now 2 out of the 5 objectives controlled effectively by John de Montague. He set fire to the storehouse and he set fire to the granary. So now we begin turn 4. Let's see who's going to get the initiative. Rolling for Baldwin on the white and John on the black. It's actually going to go for Baldwin. So one of the key objectives for Baldwin in this turn is going to be to probably move these spearmen away from the well so they don't get the opportunity to poison it. So he's going to charge. We're going to activate these spearmen to charge into the spearmen there. So they will take an attack action. These spearmen are going to choose to fight back. So they'll give the attempt to fight back. Now we need to roll strength of the charge for Baldwin's men. They roll a 4, so now they move in. So Baldwin's men will be rolling 5 dice. They'll get an extra dice for inspire because they are within. So they'll actually be rolling 6 dice and they need 7s. There's an 8 and that's it. So they get 1 8. John's spearmen are also irregular spearmen, which means they've got a defense of 7. They are not within 9 inches of the pennant, so they won't get an extra defense dice, but they need to roll a 7. And they do. They roll a 7, so John's spearmen do not suffer any casualties. So in total, there's 6 dice. The crossbowmen are going to loose their bolts directly into the face of the levy. So they're straight off shooting 5 plus 1 for inspire. So loosing 6 bolts. They are going to need 5, I believe. Yes, there are 6 normally, down to a 5 because they're shooting at short range. So there's 2 cocked dice here. So a 0, an 8, and 2 5s. The defenders are going to need to be rolling 4 dice, and the levy are going to need an 8 plus to save these. They're out of range of inspire, so they're rolling 4 dice. Right, so that 9 pairs off against the 0 and fails. The 8 will save, but then there's a 6 and a 5. So in total, that will be 3 runes. That's quite bad. That is over 50% of the starting lineup, I believe. Yes, they had 5, so they move back 3 inches. Now they take a morale check. Now their morale is not good, and their morale is 6. So they need to get 6 or more. Oh no, sorry. They take a morale penalty as well. Then it will be a 9 to save. They get a 7. They are broken. Because they're broken, they make their immediate move away to the table edge, which is down here. They make a full move, 6 inches, takes them off the table. They are removed from play. So that's essentially an entire group wiped out by 1 round of crossbows. In addition, because this is a friendly unit who have routed off the board, Baldwin will take a command penalty, or a morale penalty, sorry. So I've added 1 onto his dice score there. So on Baldwin's turn, we're going to come back over to this side, and Baldwin himself is going to activate. Like I mentioned, he really needs to keep this group of spearmen here now away from the objective. So if he engages them, they won't be able to move on to the well and attempt to poison it. So he will give a command action. The spearmen will take a morale check to see if they follow the command. The morale is a 5 and they roll a 5, so they're good on that respect. There's no reasons to, in fact I should move those apart so there's a clear gap between the 2 groups. Nothing impairing the charge. The defenders are going to take an attack back reaction for exactly the same reasons that the last set of spearmen did. The strength of the charge is a 3, so that doesn't add anything to the attack pool for the attackers. So they will just move. So I'll pop down a weary token for them. Now, there's going to be essentially a repeat of the previous combat. So they're going to be rolling 5 dice. They're within 9 inches of the commander, so they get a 6th dice there. Their attack is 7, but now it's up to 8 because they're weary. It's cocked there. No hits. The group attacking back, these are sergeants. They have an attack value of 7. So rolling 5 dice, needing 7s. Ooh, there's a 9. Yes, so 3 hits. A 9, a 9, and a 7. The village spearmen have a defense of 7. That is now up to 8 because they are weary. So needing 8s to save. They do save 1, but they lose 2 in response. The group now moves back 2 inches. That is half of their group, so they'll need to take a morale check. They are within distance of their commander, so they can use Baldwin's morale, which is a 3 up, so it'll be a 5 up because it's his morale, Baldwin's morale, plus the morale penalties on them. He has also got a priest, so actually it will be a 4 plus because the priest allows them to ignore 1 morale penalty. So it'll be a 4 up, they get a 9, they're safe. Over to John's turn, and I think he senses that the end of this battle is coming. The thing is, if he wants to charge, he needs to go in a straight line. They'll take the attack. The defenders, they're going to have to take a defense action and pray for the best. They'll huddle together. The strength of the charge, he needs at least a 2 on his strength of the charge, and he gets a 2. So he's in. He doesn't take any penalties, but just in. So with John's knights in combat, John's going to be rolling 1 dice. He's going to be rolling 3 dice for his other knights. The command group get inspired, so there's an additional dice, so 4 dice on there. So they need 5s on the red dice, 4 on the black dice. And it's only 1 hit. There is only 1 hit. It's a 5 from one of the attacking knights. Because John has lived by the sword, they can re-roll 1. He can re-roll 1 melee dice, so he'll do that. And he does get a 5, so that equates into 2 hits. So now defense rolls for the bowmen. They'll be rolling 2 and 1 for inspire. So rolling 3 dice, needing 7s. They get a critical, a 0, and they get a 7. But actually it wouldn't be a 7, it would be a 5 because they've taken the defense action. So actually, they survive that. The bowmen survive, and both groups just move 1 inch apart. Rolling back ever so slightly, John has the cruelty ability. So I'm going to re-roll that 0 to see if that makes a difference. Not a bit, it's another 0. So the bowmen survive and everything continues as is. The monks there have noticed that Baldwin is actually in a slightly vulnerable position. They can charge him, and if they can take down John, that means that the raid is over and the mercenaries and the scoundrels that he's pulled together will flee. So they're going to take a charge attack or charge action. Now, because John has the fear special rule, they will have to pass a morale check before they charge in to John. Now their morale is a 6, but they can use Baldwin's morale because this isn't an order check, this is a check to see if they can charge to begin with. So his morale is a 3+, they've got no modifiers on them, so it's a 3. It gets a 9, so they're able to charge, they've passed their fear, and you'll notice that there are 2 monks who have charged in to John. So that's going to be 2 hits that could be targeted directly at John. So I'll need to separate that attack pool. John is going to take his chances here, and he's actually going to attack back. I'll put down a weary token so we know that as this is his second action, he will be weary. So, rolling the strength of the charge for the monks. They get a 6, so they will be adding an extra dice to the attack pool. So the monks will be rolling 7. They get 1 for the strength of the charge, and they'll also get another one because they are inspired. These are green monks, so they will need an 8. So there is 2 9s and an 8. So 3 hits. So of these 3 hits, 1 is against John. John's defense is a 5. So he passes that on a 6. So John is fine. The other 2 will need to pass. Oh no, they're a 5 plus because they are wearing mail. 1 passes and 1 does fail. The failure gets his shield roll, which is an 8 plus. And he gets it. That was an 8. So no casualties caused at all to John's command group. Conversely, there'll be 1 dice for John attacking. There'll be 3 dice for his other knights. And then there'll be a final dice for Inspire. So they'll be rolling a total of 5 dice. They need 5s on the red and 4s on the black. So there's a hit from John and a hit from 2 other knights. So we've got 8, a 6 and a 5. The monks have a defense of 8, but because the knights are armed with falchions, this will actually change to a 9 because they suffer a -1 penalty. And actually, the knights can re-roll 1 of their attack dice. So 2, so nothing extra gets added in there. That's from, I think it's Live by the Sword or Chivalry, one or the other. So none of the rolls from the monks are successful. So they will lose 3 monks. So let's remove them. So that's a 3 onto the monks' morale score. It's not half of their unit. So they don't need to worry about whether they're broken, but they will move back 3 inches. So John gets to make his consolidation move. He's going to move over to here. He can make his full move. If he gets in contact with the house, he might have a chance to burn it down next turn. So he's going to move down to here. But he's just down here behind this house in contact with it. So now it's back over to John. John has no more activations, so his turn is passed. John does have 1 more activation. He has the crossbowman behind the granary. What we're going to do instead then is he's going to move this group of crossbowmen from out of here into the stables, which is another objective. So they've taken a move. So now it's Baldwin's activation. He's got 1 more. He has to take the action himself. What he's going to do is he's going to take a move action, and he is going to move into base contact here with the storehouse and try and put that fire out. So we're at the end of the turn. All activations have played out. I'll collect up the tokens, then we will take away the morale modifiers. They all reduce down by 1. Except for the guys over here, they'll have to pass a morale check to see if they're able to actually remove their morale penalty. They get a 5, so these spearmen have a morale of 5, but they've actually got 2 on their morale modifier, so they would need 7. They remove the weary token, but they keep the 2 on their morale modifier, which isn't great should they get charged next turn. We've tidied up everything, picked up all the tokens. Now we're going to see if the crossbowmen behind the stables are able to set fire to them. The crossbowmen would need a 5 or a 6, and it's a 5. And I'm going to put this ring on top to identify their fire. So now we've actually got, currently we've got the stores, the granary and the stables on fire. But Baldwin has come into base contact with this one, so we will see 6 to see if he can put the fire out. He doesn't, he gets a 1. Rolling again for initiative, white for Baldwin, black for John. It goes again to Baldwin. So what does Baldwin want to do? Over on this flank, Baldwin really needs to do everything he can to stop these sergeants and these spearmen from getting onto the well. So he'll do what he can. The spearmen are going to activate. They'll take a charge action and they will charge into these sergeants. There's no line of sight, there's no range issues. The sergeants are going to take an attack back as they did in the last turn. Oh, sorry, I should go there and there. And let's roll for the strength of the charge. They get a 2, so they don't add anything additional. They charge in, so the defender's going to gain an extra defense dice. So they were out of range of their commander last turn for the morale, so they're definitely out of range for inspire. So these spearmen are going to need 7s off 3 dice. Ooh, 0, 007. The spearmen are going to get 3 saves, plus an extra save because of the morale difference. They've got a defense of 6 up, so there is 1 0. So that 0 matches off against that. The 6 will have to match off against that second 0, so it doesn't make a difference. They've then got a 3 and a 1, so they're going to lose currently 2. They have got medium shields, so they do get 2 8 up saves. I rolled these off I'm running out of space. So they get a 9 and a 4. So they will save against. No, they won't. So actually, no. Yeah, so they can't use a shield roll against a critical hit, but they'll save this one. So they essentially are going to lose 1, 2. So they will lose 2. They now make their attack back with their reduced number of men, and they attack back needing at least a 7. So there is a 0 there, an 8, and another 8. So that is 3 hits. So we flip round to the other side now, and the Ashbury villagers are defending. They need at least a 7 to save. So rolling 3 dice, needing a 7. They get a 9, which would have to pair off against a 0. So that means that's 1 dead, because they haven't rolled a 0 to save it. They do get an 8, which pairs off against an 8, which saves them. And they get a 2. So they lose 2 warriors. So we'll need to move this morale modifier up to a 4. We determine the victor. It's actually a drawn combat, because they've both lost 2. Both groups are forced back. Spearmen here are going to have to take a morale check because they have lost over half of their starting number. Let's roll to see what they get. They get a 7. They're out of the range of their commander. I don't think a 7 is going to do it. They have a base morale of 5. Add 4 onto that, they would need a 9. So they are broken. Because these guys are broken, they're going to make an immediate move away from the enemy, and they actually move immediately back from the attacking group. Their full move. I'll have to check the table width because I think this might actually take them off. I think they've got maybe about 2 inches before they're off the table, so they're still in play, but they are broken. For John's activation, he's going to make use of these crossbowmen here, and he's going to have them have a bit of a pot shot at Baldwin. They are technically not the closest group, so they'll take a action. They'll need to roll a morale check to see if they can do it. They roll a 10, roll a 0, so they're able to undertake the action. They are just crossbowmen, so they're shooting on a 6+. They are all within 10, so they are instead going to be shooting on a 5+. So there's 3 dice to be rolled on a 5+, and they get a single 6. Single 6 for Baldwin to defend. The Knights need a 5 up to defend, and then they've got a shield. So defense roll for the Knights is a 1, first off. That's not great. And the shield, which is a medium shield, so it's an 8 up, they get a 4. So that is actually a Knight down for Baldwin. So Baldwin is going to take a pip on his morale dice. Oh dear, Baldwin. So if they're forced back into a building or impassable terrain, if a building or impassable terrain lies in the path of a forced back move, the group is trapped. The group is moved back as far as possible. Warriors are permitted to touch the base of the building or impassable terrain. The group automatically takes 1 casualty. So I think we're going to have to lose the priest. I don't think Baldwin can afford to lose his pennant. He needs that inspire, he needs that extra range on her, and he's also taken an extra hit there on his morale modifier. So we move now back over to Baldwin's activation, and what we're going to do is going to activate these bowmen. The bowmen are going to try and take some shots at these, so they will need a 7 to hit. So there's only 5 of them. The crossbowmen will wait it out. They're not going to return fire. They could shoot back, but if they leave it for the moment, they can possibly pick a more juicy target. So needing 7s for the bows. There is a 0. These are marksman sergeants. So the marksman sergeants do have padded armor. So they'll be rolling on a 6 to defend. They are within range of their commander. So they're going to be rolling an extra dice for defense. So all in all here, they've got 4 dice. They need a 0 and at least 6s. They match that 9 off against a 0, so that fails. They get a 6 on the second, so they do pass that one. Then they get a 4 and a 1, so they're going to take 2 casualties. So 2 casualties for the crossbowmen. They will then move back 2 inches, which puts them right at the edge of the board as well. They'll take a 2 on their morale dice. I'm going to have to look to see what activations we've got left. So John, I'll activate these marksman crossbows down here. They will take a shot, but rather than shooting back at those archers, their shot is going to be at the monks. The monks are at the top of the screen there. The marksmen are going to be shooting 3 dice plus an extra 1 for inspire. They'll be needing a 6 up to hit. Nothing. Oh no, 1 6. There's 1 6 there. They also, no, they don't get measured shot this turn because they've moved, because they've had to move back. So technically they've moved. So there's 1 defense dice for the bowmen. The bowmen are unarmored, so they'll need a 7, I believe it is. 7. And they get a 4. So that is 1 dead for the bowmen, and they all move back an inch. And they take a 1 on their morale modifiers. For Baldwin's activation, he's going to move his monks, and they're going to move into contact with the stables there to try and put out these flames. So they'll move over here. Let's see what other activations we've got left. So a very simple activation on this side. These spearmen, who have not yet activated, are going to move up and go into base contact with the well. Before the end of the game, they're going to get to see whether they get a chance to poison the well or not. Back in the centre, Baldwin, he needs to try and move to hopefully put out some of these fires. So he'll take a bit of a risk, and he's going to move, so he's staying in base contact with the storehouses, but he's going to move in such a way that his banner is within range of these archers. John has only his 2 activations left, so John is going to give an order to these crossbowmen. Let's see what they roll for their courage. They roll a 6. Their base morale is a 4 with the 2 modifiers there. That will take them up to a 6, so they do pass. They will try and shoot again, this time at the bowmen, because they can. So there will be 3 dice for the marksman, needing a 6 up. They get 2 hits, a 9 and an 8. The bowmen have a defense of 7, so they need 7s to survive this. And they get a 7 and an 8, so actually they save both. Back to Baldwin. He is going to try and give his bowmen an order, and you can guess what they're going to try to do. He wants to give them an order to try and shoot back at the crossbowmen. So they have a morale of 5. up to 6 because of the morale penalty. The priest in the warband, retinue leader's warband, is now dead, so that has no effect. So needing a 5, they fail actually, because they would need a 6. So that's a fail, they don't take it. That is Baldwin's last activation. That leaves John with 1 activation left. He's going to pass. He wants to set fire to this building. He currently has 3 out of the 5 objectives destroyed. So let's go around quickly. I'll gather up all the tokens because it won't matter now. The game has ended. No one else is running away, and then we'll see what happens with these very last objectives. So let's go one by one and see what happens with these objectives in the final round, the final stage of the game. So John, attempting to set fire to this building, he needs a 5 or a 6. He gets a 5. He has set fire to another building, and the bailiff's house has gone up in flames. Now the monks in the centre are in contact with the stables, they get the opportunity to put the fire out. So on a 6, they put it out, but they don't, they get a 2. Now 6 for Baldwin to be able to put the fire out, he gets a 5. So he doesn't do so. He doesn't put out the fire. And last but not least, the very final objective here, the well, throwing all sorts of feces, animal carcasses and whatever they can down it. Can these guys poison the well? And they roll a 6, so they do. So that is the final objective. So that means actually all 5 objectives have fallen to John and his forces. So there we have it, the battlefield after the game. And I don't think this ever really went in Baldwin's favour, and I would say that's probably down to the quality of troops he had compared with John's troops. So we've got the bailiff's house is on fire, 1 VP to John. The stables are on fire, so 2nd VP to John. The granary is on fire, 3rd VP to John. Stores on fire, 4th VP to John. And then the well, which has been poisoned, that is a 5th VP to John. So that's 5 VPs to 0. And John has destroyed the village of Ashbury. He's razed their homes, he's destroyed their crops, he's burnt down their stables, and he has completely and utterly ravaged the area. Baldwin has survived, so that will have an impact on the story in the future. He has not died, and John has survived as well. So neither of those guys are dead, and they may or may not live to fight another day.